they appreciated everything that we did. Virgil had a section of the building, and I had a section of it, and we met in the middle. One of the guys that was with us was an electrician, a retired electrician, still a good friend to this day. And he put all the electronics back in it for your pumps and all this kind of stuff. And Virgil and I did the wood and the wall. We hired the drywalling done. We hired that done. But we put in the new lumber and all that to hold it up, and all the doors and the trim and all this kind of stuff. And we hired somebody to build the countertops that are in there. Those are done over by, I don't know, somewhere near the side of Iowa. But anyway, I think that's where I decided that, you know, it's time to see the Lord in a different way. Because when we were all done in October, Don asked Virgil and I, he said, "What do I owe you?" And we said, "Not a dime." Virgil was retired and I wasn't, but I took the entire summer off, vacation and anything I could find to get off from going to ConAgra. It's ConAgra now instead of National Oils. I took the whole summer off, and it felt so good to say no charge. And I think that was where my turn to the Lord came, was at that point. Life went on until May of 2 years ago, and I'm starting to fail. I couldn't lift anything anymore. A lot of the stuff that I did laid, a lot of those gearboxes and shafts and all that stuff weighed over 100 pounds. I couldn't pick them up. I had two good partners, wonderful partners, who were carrying the load, and I knew it. So one day in May of whatever year that was, 2 years ago, I don't even have it wrote down in my notes what year it was. 13. Year was 2013. I'm sitting there every morning or every afternoon. I worked nights for afternoons for 20 some odd years. I would go early and do the Gazette crossword puzzle. I would do the crossword puzzle, and one day about, I don't know, it was in the middle of May, maybe towards the end of May, the people from upstairs came down. One sat on this side of me, and one sat on this side of me. Said, "We have a plan for you." I said, "You have a plan for me?" He said, "It's brought to our attention that you're having problems. We noticed that you can't climb steps anymore. And you're having trouble lifting the gearboxes and the motors." I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's getting more difficult all the time." And they knew why. They knew the cancer was moving in. He said, "Well, we have a plan for you." He said, "You know, you have paid now for 39 years on a disability claim, and you've never made a claim. You have never used one penny of that. We want to retire you early." I wanted to go to 40. I wanted to go to 40 years, but I couldn't do it. And I knew it. I was pretty sore. But anyway, 40 years came, and or they told me that you have to retire. So, but we have this, and we're going to sign you up for that. And then, and this was in May, said, "When do you want to retire? When do you want to go?" And I said, "Well, how much is it going to cost me first? How much is this going to cost me?" And they said, $19 a month is all it's going to take off of your pension and all this. And I said, "Where do I sign?" He said, "When do you want to go?" And I said, "I'll go tomorrow." They said, "Well, let's go at the end of next week, because then that's the end of a pay period." So on the 29th of May that year, I retired. I was done. But I've been, and then 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, I woke up one day with this elephant sitting on my chest. Another disappointment. But man, just don't feel good. Come to find out, I had congestive heart failure. So, I've since had 2 stents put in and I feel fine. Don't have any energy, but I don't have that elephant anymore. But earlier I mentioned I started a thing. I had a what do you call it? A book where you write down every day. A journal. There you go. But I was having trouble writing in the journal. I couldn't put enough stuff in the journal and make it make sense. So I opened up, got a new book, and I call it my thank you book. And I mentioned my wife earlier. I was going to do this earlier and I forgot. My wife said, "I bet you never mentioned me one time in that thank you book." And I said, "Oh yes, I have." And I showed her my very first entry was about her. It was on May 19, 2015, just back. And this is what I wrote. No matter how low I might feel, this is going to be my thankful journal. Today I'm thankful for my wife. She is my rock. I can't say enough about how she treats me. She accepts me for who I am. Wilma understands my disease. Someday cancer is going to conquer me. We both know this, so we make the best of it. May God bless us both here on earth and in eternity. She couldn't believe that I wrote that about her. Anyway, I told Mr. Guess over here that I cut this short. We got a church now. You may have to do the church because I got to go to Mechanicsville yet. But anyway, about a year ago, I went with my wife on Thursday night to eat at McDonald's, which we do about every Thursday night. And I went along, and I was introduced to about five ladies. They're all sitting right here right now. And they taught me to laugh at myself. Don't take life too seriously. And Donnie Maynard, you are not exempt. And Mr. Jess, you are not either. That's how I know you. But they taught me in the last year to laugh at myself. And it's been one of the greatest things there ever was. Because I didn't laugh at anything I did. Everything was tick, 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 tick. And then I would lecture if it wasn't tick, tick, tick. Because I spent so many years working on machines that a tolerance was 100,000ths of an inch. And so the whole time you're just dedicated to making that machine run perfect. Well, life is not perfect. The Lord doesn't allow us to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect. But He's with us all the time, and He will forgive us no matter what. No matter what we do, no matter what we think, He will forgive us. I've learned that, and I've learned to laugh at myself. We have a good time on Thursday night, don't we? I went home some nights, my stomach hurts so bad from laughing. And like I said, Maynard and Donnie, you are not exempt. There for a while. It hasn't been for a while, but there for a while it was, well, what's the Donnie and Maynard story this week? But anyway, this is a small portion of my story. And my story is going to be in print. In fact, it is in print now. I have it in print right up here. But I was asked to come down to Lone Tree in July. on a Sunday afternoon and tell my story. Somebody had heard my story and had heard my story, and so I went to Lone Tree, and there was 300 people in there, veterans who were cancer survivors. And I'm a survivor, but I'm not a cure. I'm just a survivor. And I told my story, and I went back and sat down with Wilma. We sat down, and a lady come up to me, and she said, would you come back down to my office at your pleasure and tell your story, and we're going to put it in writing, we're going to put it in a book. I said, you got to be kidding. She said, no, we're going to publish your story. But I said, I'm not alone, am I? She said, oh no, we have about 30 stories that we're going to put into a hardbound book. But we're going to put it on the internet first. And it's being put on there now. We're revising it and rewriting it and making it a little more, because she took it right off of a video or a tape recorder, and some of the words didn't come out right, so she just typed in whatever she thought they were. And so that's happening in my life. And then there's one other thing before I leave I want to tell you about, and don't judge me, because God has already judged me. In 1968, January 68, I'm on shore patrol in Yokosuka, Japan. We were there for a week, and when you're a second class, E5, you don't have a lot of choice about shore patrol. All the younger guys do all the mess cooking and all that stuff. You have to walk shore patrol. So I walked shore patrol. My friend who was killed in the airplane crash, James, he and I were walking down. We had a choice to either go to the bar scene and patrol the bars or go to the Ginza. The Ginza's like Westdale Mall or Lindale Mall. We said we're going to go to the mall, the Ginza. We're walking down the street, and here comes this guy out from an alley covered. It was in the spring, so we were in whites. We didn't have our dress blues. We were wearing dress whites. And he's covered with blood, running like mad. And anyway, I didn't think too much of it until the next day we heard rumors that a little Japanese girl had been murdered. I knew who did it. I just knew who did it. And so I went to a higher authority and I told them. And James went with me because he saw it too. And we told them what we had seen. Well, a couple months went by, and one day we were in the Philippines getting more ammunition, more bombs, more food, more this, more that, to go back to Tonkin Gulf, called Yankee Station. This big, by that time, James didn't even know I'd done what I did. But anyway, this guy come into the shop. I'm there by myself. I'm actually reading. And he said, are you Barry Anderson? I heard that you're here today. Hadn't gone. I said, yes, I am. He said, would you come up to my shop and talk to me? He was a first class. I said, yes, I will. Yes. I said, who are you? And he told me. I said, okay. I went up to his shop, and he said, I understand you know who killed that little girl. I said, I'm positive I do. I said, that wasn't just a fluke that guy's coming at me. He said, well, he said, you know who it is? I said, yes, I do. He said, well, so do we. He said, he's a serial killer. He's killed 3, one of them being my sister. I said, well, how's come he hasn't been caught yet? Because he's right here on the boat, right here on the ship. He's the chief of police, which is called master at arms in them days. He said, because he keeps jumping ship. He never goes back to the States. My sister was killed in California. He's killed 2 more after that. The one in Yokosuka and one somewhere else. He told me and I forgot now. But anyway, he said, what I need from you is $10. I said, $10?